Welcome to episode 191 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And today, getting into this episode, I was trying to figure out why it feels like it's been so long since I made my last one, being that I seemingly do this every week. But then I remembered back that last week's episode I recorded a little bit early. I actually made it right before Christmas break started, which would have been December 21st. And then we fast forward to today, which today's episode is equally late. I'm recording this just mere hours before it goes live on the last day of the year, Sunday, December 31st at 8:45 a.m. So it's been almost 2 weeks, like we're rounding up. It's been 2 weeks since I made an episode. So I've got a lot to cover, and I had to go deep back into my brain to remember what happened before Christmas, because this whole week's been a whirlwind, which we'll be talking about. So let's go back to where I think I left off, and that is, I think the final update on my broken foot saga. I was leading up to me having a doctor's appointment to check on the foot after 3 weeks of breaking to find out if it's been healing and what my fate was with das Boot. And I went into that appointment on I think it was the next day after I made the last week's episode. And I found out that my foot is in fact healing really well. And the boot I only need to wear for 2 more weeks, and only when I'm really walking around. My foot's been feeling really great, and even since then, like I just been wearing the boot when I go places, like in a situation where I need to put on a shoe, because putting that pressure on top of my foot is not good with shoes. But I found the perfect set of shoes that I actually wore out yesterday when we went out shopping for New Year's Eve stuff and food and supplies that just completely solved my problems. And you're never going to guess what that type of shoe is, although you may, because I've been singing its praises ever since Deb got me into the Croc gang. That's right. Crocs are the perfect shoe to wear when you have a broken foot. They're nice and loose, and they're comfortable, and they fit great. As long as you can get over like the public stigma of actually wearing Crocs as a grown man, if you are one. If you're a kid, dude, Croc it up. Live your life. Women, feel like can get away with Crocs too. Guys, it's debatable, but I feel like if you're comfortable enough with yourself, you can live the Croc life. And I'll have to say, those shoes are just wonderful. Like yesterday was the first time that I went out. We went out completely bootless. And I was like, okay, my foot feels good. Even just moving around, my foot feels great. So it seems like everything's good. I do have one more last appointment in 2 weeks from now, where I think they're going to do a final x-ray and be like, hey, you're good to go, buddy. So my foot and body is doing what it's supposed to do. And I did have one interesting thing. Obviously, that's not very interesting. Okay, Greg, of course your foot's healing. That's what happens. One interesting thing that the guy said, and I don't say this to guilt or shame anyone out there, but he said, oh, you're not a smoker, so your foot will heal up just fine. This is good. And I was like, whoa. Can smoking inhibit your ability to heal? And he's like, yeah, it actually can. And I was kind of taken back by that. You always hear about how bad smoking is for you. And obviously it is. I don't think we're not here to debate that. But I didn't know that it could stop a broken bone from healing well or properly. And that's kind of crazy. So if we're right around the new year, and I know one of the biggest resolutions outside of losing weight, which, we're still in that boat. And we'll talk about that a little bit later after I talk about all of our festivities here over Christmas. A lot of people are like, I'm going to quit smoking in the new year. So just know, if you do smoke and you break your foot, it may not heal very fast or well, and you might be booted up forever. So take it from me. I know it's easy to say as a non-smoker. It's always easy to not be in the group and be like, oh, why don't you just stop doing that thing? Like buying Lego, for example. Oh, just stop buying Lego. I can't. I'm addicted. No, you get what I'm saying. I just thought I'd throw that out there because that was probably the most interesting part of the conversation that I had with the guy, and I thought maybe you would enjoy it, and hopefully you did. So that took us through right before Christmas, but then that was good news, right? Everything's okay, cool. I'm feeling great, and then bad things happened, and it started on Thursday morning when I first got up. I noticed that Roxy Bear was not out of her bed. Usually as soon as I literally, if I move, Roxy Bear is pestering me because it's breakfast time, baby. She knows I'm awake. There's no faking it. It's not like I can just lay there forever. I can't get on my phone what I'm assuming most people do. I don't think most people just jump out of bed unless your alarm goes off. I can't do that because Roxy's on me. And she's like, all right, let's go do breakfast. It's time to eat. If you have a lab, She didn't get out of her bed. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But then she kind of got up, and I was like, okay, she's acting fine. That wasn't until the next evening, actually the day that I had my appointment. She fell out in the kitchen, just completely her back legs went out from under her. And Cody went running out and got her back up. And it was like, wow, that was very weird. But again, it's like, okay, we'll just write that off. But then the next day, or very early in the morning on Saturday morning, it happened again. Her legs just went out from under and she like toppled down, and she's so big that it's like we had to like lift her back up. And I was like, okay, this is not good. And of course our vet is not open on Saturdays. So that morning I made the run to the emergency vet, which is about 30 minutes away or so, maybe a little bit more. And they took a look at her, and they couldn't quite figure out what her situation is. They kind of chalked it up to like hip dysplasia, being an old dog. The nerves aren't firing as well. And I was like, okay, I guess this is just something that we're going to have to live with. But then once again, we noticed something even weirder with her, and that's that her eyes, like when we came home over the weekend, her eyes were like going like around in her head as though like she's dizzy or was trying to stabilize the world, because her eyes were kind of moving back and forth. And I was like, oh gosh, we got to get her in first thing to the vet when they open. So I did that, and they're not entirely sure what's going on. It can be this thing called old rolling dog syndrome or something like that, where this just happens once and then they're okay and they recover. Or it can be a sign of something even more severe, like there could be a tumor that's attached to her brain or, her spine, and that could be causing her to have these issues. She's better now, which is good news, but she's not back to where she was before, particularly with her mobility. Like her back legs are just real tender. I don't know if it's because they got splayed out, like she came out, and she has arthritis real bad too. It's not fun having an older dog, guys. Like having a dog is awesome, and I wouldn't give it up for the world, but having an older dog, it's just, boy, it is like taking care of an elderly person. And that's what our household has sort of become in the last week. Like we aren't allowing Roxy to go upstairs anymore to our bed where she always sleeps and has slept her entire life. So we have that blocked off. In fact, today, I think I'm going to get a baby gate. We got an extra rug to put by her food bowl because our house has wood floors, which is a part of the problem. And she's like slipping on that because she doesn't have the stability that she had. So we got like a runner to go where her food bowl is. We moved her bed so it's on like the rug in our living room, just trying to accommodate her so she's less likely to fall. Now, even though she's arthritic and her back legs aren't great, and she's having struggling in the back of the car, and to the point where I'm putting her in the very back, like in the hatch, her spirit's still there. She still gets her toys out and wants to play a little bit, which I'm being very gentle with her. And she's wagging her tail. She's obviously eating. Again, she's a lab, so no amount of discomfort is going to stop her from eating. But the vet, like their recommendation was just kind of monitor her. And if something like this happens again, where her eyes are spinning, or she like has a bad fall, or is anxious or something like that, we're supposed to document it, see how long it lasts, and then keep a record of it. Maybe even get a video of it so they can see it. But at this point, like I've kind of, even the last year, and I've kind of been living my life this way with Roxy Bear. It's like I've been living as though this may be the last time we get to do a lot of things, like go for long walks, go swimming in the creek, throw a toy, all these things. Every time it was happening, and I think I even talk about this in my videos too. I'm like, you know what? I'm soaking this in. I'm absorbing this. We've had 12 and a half years. Roxy's closer to 13 now than she is 12. And that is a darn good lifespan for a lab. And she's had a great life. We've given her the best life that we can. But boy, it's just been, ever since she was probably like maybe 8 or so, it's kind of just been like downhill there, from all the medical things to having allergies to having arthritis to having to be on these meds that she's on and stuff. And it sucks to see that happen, particularly when we go back and I watch like old videos of ours, and you see her just being like young and shiny, healthy, sprinting through the yard. And I'm just like, dang, why can't we have that back? Because like just like this incident alone has got me thinking about the prospect of Roxy not being a part of our lives anymore. And it's just such a foreign thing to even think about, because she's been there for everything. She was the reason I started on YouTube. Like we made videos about when we were buying a house, and like right at the same time we got Roxy Bear, and she was like the video of me bringing her home is what's kind of spurred all of this on. So I owe it all to her. Bringing Clark home, like every event in our lives in the last 12 and a half years has been with Roxy with us. And to know that, I'm really, I'm really thinking this might be the final year. This could be it for that. And it's devastating, because again, she brings me and our whole family so much joy. Like I love having that companion, and, it's just, you don't know how long you have that for. So all you can really do, and this is where I've been for much longer than now, but even more so now, is just like give her as much love as you can and soak it all in, you know? So that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to do that with her. And she seems okay now. Like she got her toys out this morning, and I was like, that's a great sign. So I'd like to get her back outside. I asked about walks, and they said maybe like they basically said you got to treat her like an old lady, basically. So, you know, you don't want an old person just to be laying all the time. You want them up a little bit. So maybe like a 5-minute walk. So that's what we're going to do. I started thinking this morning, it got me real sad. I'm like, I don't think she's going to be able to go swimming again. To be on those slippery rocks and to go into the water and have enough force in her legs to kick through the current and stuff, I don't know. So, man, it getting old. Like, I guess ultimately, like I'll end on this because I don't want to dwell on this too much because it just sucks, you know. Just know, and this is what I think to myself, everything in life is temporary. Everything that you have right now can be gone someday. Everything you don't have can be had someday. It's just everything's fluid. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is forever. So the only thing you can really do is just appreciate things where they are right now because that's all you got. So that was the story with Roxy Bear, but I'm feeling confident that she still has a good quality of life. And I'm hoping throughout this year we can maintain that as long as we can. So that's where we'll leave that. I'll keep the updates coming if anything changes, but she's, you know, it's just, I guess it's this natural course of things. Let's talk about some good news. You know, that kind of was a little bit of weight on what should be a fun time, right? Like Christmas time is like, oh, this is the greatest time of the year, the most wonderful time of the year, as they say. And I was like, please don't let something happen to Roxy over Christmas, because that would just sour every Christmas of my entire future if something happened. Luckily, everything's okay. Christmas Eve, she was good. Took her over to Yammy's. We had dinner over there. Deb made burger bundles, which are maybe creeping up on Sloppy Joe's as my favorite food. Burger bundles are like stuffing balls, essentially, with like hamburger meat wrapped around them in like this gravy, and it's like S-tier food. So that was lovely having that. Took Roxy over, put her in the back of the car. In fact, when I opened up the back hatch, she jumped down. I was like, whoa, don't do that. But it's like you can't take the lab out of the lab. That's what I've learned. So we had a great Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, amazing. Great memories from that. I recorded a whole bunch. You probably saw a couple videos from it. Heck, I think I had well over 2 hours of footage. I filled an entire memory card with 4K footage. And which I say 4K because I shot some videos this week that weren't in 4K that were fun. But that's for the next day or two. That Christmas Day was awesome. Clark had such a blast opening up all of his gifts and seeing all the cool stuff that Santa brought him. And we totally got into it. Like we were done unwrapping and then we just went right into playing. And I had so much fun playing with all this stuff and building Legos things and getting into action figures and all the things that come along with Christmas. But that was just the beginning of it because Bud and Deb also came over that day. We went to their house. They came to our house Christmas Eve, and then they came over to us on Christmas. And we had our Christmas dinner, which was delicious. And they hung out, and it was a really fun time. We did our little stocking openings and stuff, and it was great. I got all kinds of memories for myself and also captured. So if you'd like to see all that, I won't dwell or I guess not dwell, but go at length about that, because you can go back and watch the whole video of our entire day. And I was really thankful to have that experience and another great Christmas memory. And like going back to Roxy Bear, she had a wonderful Christmas. She got into her gifts. We got her just treats this year because she has so many toys, like they're overflowing. She got a bunch of different treats and tried them all out, and it was good. It was a good time, and I'm just happy to have that day and the memories from that. But the memories don't end there, because the next day we were driving out to visit my brother and sister-in-law, and of course Kyle Landon, my nephews, over near Pittsburgh. So we did that on the 26th. Luckily, or unluckily, I don't know how to take it, Bud and Deb weren't feeling well that next day, and they decided they were going to stay back. And that was kind of good for us because I didn't want Roxy to have to ride in the car for 3.5 or 4 hours. Like I had kind of decided that we're just going to load everything in the back with Clark, and then the back hatch, I'll actually put her dog bed in there, and then she can lay down nicely in the back there as we drive out. But being that they were staying home, I was like, I think it'd be better if Rox just kind of stayed back with them and had more comfortable time there. So that's what she did. So unfortunately, Bud and Deb didn't go out with us, but we were able to go and not have to worry too much about Roxy Bear. That trip out there, of course, I also got video of. In this case, I didn't record it with my old camera my new old camera that I bought. I recorded this home movie style that I was really going for, and I talked about in last week's episode, the aesthetic of having something that feels like a home movie, which I think has been lost with cell phones and the quality that they have. I took my Panasonic HC-V500M camcorder from 2012. The camcorder that I got right after my very first camera that I started making YouTube videos with. I filmed at this thing for a couple years. And surprisingly, it held up really well. I was just playing around with it, and I'm like, dang, this is like, it feels good in the hand. It looks good. I can zoom in. Quality, obviously not amazing, and it definitely has that feel, like it feels old, but that's kind of what I was going for. And it's interesting because I noticed in the comments of the videos, of which I also recorded our trip, there were a few people that really enjoyed that style, which I'm glad, because it's just, it feels like in the right circumstances, that could work really well. Like now, showing Lego sets off, maybe not the best when you're in like this old camcorder, low quality, but when you're recording like opening Christmas gifts, it feels like you just went into the vault and you got this tape from 2000 or something like that, which isn't even that long ago. And then you pop it into the VCR and it's like, oh, here's this video that was made. And it was a great time out there. We had so much fun. That night was great. And then the next day was even better because we actually went out shopping. Cody wanted to go to Costco for the first time, so they took us there. Clark and I enjoyed a bunch of samples with the nephews. And then we ended up going over to the Ross Park Mall and, of course, to the Lego store. And that's where things got really interesting because my nephews ended up coming back to Lego after so many years. They actually both bought a Lego set that day. And when we went home later, they were building those and having a great time, including my nephew Landon, who got a very challenging Lego set. He got this Lego Technic Ford GT, which is a $150 giant Technic set. And I was like, oh man, that's going to be a challenge for you. Like, you're really going to have to pay attention to make sure you build it right. What do you know? This kid was like an absolute legend at building Technic, because he built the very first night. He built, I think it was 2 bags of that set, which was substantial. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you see these Technic sets, that's a lot. There's 5 total bags. He built the next one the following day, and then I think he actually finished the whole set, because then he sent me pictures and videos of it being all done, which was so cool to see, and to see him enjoy it. Like, he was really into it. My nephew Kyle is into Lego architecture sets and those kind of things that you can display, so that was fun. And we just had an overall like awesome day shopping. I ended up getting Starry Night, which is a pretty expensive display piece at the Lego store. It was one of those ones, it was kind of just sitting there on the shelf, and I had been kind of contemplating it for a long time, and I was like, am I going to enjoy building that? And I was like, you know what? That's going to look so good in my studio. So I pulled the trigger, and I've actually built it since I've been home. I'm working my way through it. I'm like 4 bags in, and it's awesome. I love it. Clarkman, on the other hand, different story for him. He didn't go all out at the Lego store. He went in there, I think, with like $120 of just Christmas money to spend. And Ray, who I need to shout out, Ray, thank you so much. Ray not only sent Clarkman Christmas and or birthday money, but me as well. So thank you, Ray, who's a huge supporter of the channel. Shout out earlier in the episode. I have that on my outline, so I'm shouting you out now. Clarkman went in with a whole pile of money to spend, and it's interesting with him because when it's his money that he's spending, whether on anything, toys, Lego, whatever, he's very cautious of how he spends it. And I guess that's a good thing. Like, this will serve him well later in life. But I kind of want to see him go in there and just ball out. You know what I mean? Let's just grab a whole bunch of stuff that you like. But he's like looking around, and he picks up a $20 Lego set. And he gets that, and he's really into it. And then he gets a $10 Lego set. And then he gets a Pick-a-Brick, which is like $8 or $9. And then he gets like this Alex Brickhead that's on sale. He spent less than $50 there, I think. And I was just like, oh man, you had all this money, but I was like, do you want anything else? Like, all this stuff. And he's like, no, this is what I want. So Clarkman is definitely a cheap date. I walked out with a $170 Lego set. Clarkman, like $50. But so he still has money left to spend, and I'm sure it won't go to waste. So that was all the things that we got at the Lego store, and it was an awesome day. We did get some bubble tea after that, which was a whole experience too. And if you want to see all of that adventure, you can watch the vlog because I documented all this. Later that evening, after we went back and built some Lego, we ended up going out to Ichiban, which is like a hibachi style restaurant with like Japanese food production where they have like the fire and they do all this stuff to interact with the crowd. And Clark, man, loved it. He said it was the best meal he's ever had. And he was just like thrilled with the show, the entertainment and the food, and everything was fantastic. And it was just a great experience to have the family together to do that. And that's really all I wanted for my birthday. But it got better because not only did we have a great food, and the nephews are back into Lego, which is a proud uncle moment for me. Cody started playing Mario Wonder with Clark, man, and now she's into it. So that was just like an awesome day of all these things that transpired. This is the day before my birthday. It just felt like all my birthday wishes came true. My nephews are back into Lego. Cody's playing video games. We're all together as a family. Does it get any better? I don't know. There's again another day just like absorbing all of this and like capturing these memories, not only for me but like in the camera, so I can look back, because there's all these things that I just like my time capsule. It's all for the time capsule, and that was a good entry going in. I sealed the vault on that one. That felt good. So that was a fun experience. We ended up leaving the next day, which was my birthday, but we didn't come just straight home. We ended up going to we went shopping again. We went to the Grove City outlets, I think is what they're called, and did a little shopping there. Didn't have a whole lot of success. When you shop around the holidays at these outlets, if you are like a normal sized person, it's terrible trying to find anything. If you're like a small or a double extra large, you have an incredibly easy time at these outlets. But if you're anywhere near the middle, like in a medium size, you're done for. So I found like a shirt. I think I got like a t-shirt and a hoodie. Cody got a couple things too. Clarkman got a little Luigi plushie. He was just along for the ride, and he was a good sport because he knew, like, obviously shopping like at outlets for clothes or whatever isn't that interesting for a kid. But he's a trooper, and he always does well with that. Never puts up a fuss or tantrum. And that's something like I always appreciate Clarkman for. Anytime I see other kids, and I don't know how this is going to sound, but this is how I feel. Anytime I see or experience other kids like around us, I'm always that much more thankful for Clarkman, because he's like a little grown up. Like he's quiet. He's not rambunctious. He doesn't throw tantrums. Interacting with him is like, I interact with him like I'd interact with a friend. You know, I treat him like he's like, and Cody does too, like one of us. You know, it's not like we don't talk down to him. He's not like this little, child that's living in our house. Like he's a part of our family. That being said, like sometimes you do need to like talk to him and have discipline, but it's always it's from a place of understanding, and everything goes well. And I'm just so thankful to have a little dude. Although I might be biased, but I just think there's something special about him. And I think some of that comes from nature and some comes from nurture. It's a combination of those two things. And when all the planets align, sometimes things work out. So I say a lot to say I'm thankful to have Clarkman and have him a part of my life, in the same way of all the other positive things that are in my life, even sometimes the negative things like Roxy Bear's health situation. I can think about that, or I can think about how I've had 12 and a half years of having this awesome dog be by my side. And I'm thankful for that too. So even though it's Christmas, I still have a sense of it being Thanksgiving, right? Because you can always be thankful for things, even if they're not great. So that night, coming home, we left the outlets. I got some Annie Ann's, by the way. So like birthday checklist or checking things off. But there was one more thing that I wanted for my birthday, and that was a original Italian pizza from Santino's. So that's what we got for dinner. Took that over to Deb's when we picked up Roxy, and we ate dinner with Bud and Deb. As we returned back there, they were feeling a little bit better, and we took Roxy home that night. So that was it was a great day. Oh, what did we do that night? We watched all of our Christmas movies this week too. I don't know what order we watched them in or what night it was, but we watched Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2. We watched Rudolph. We watched Jingle All the Way. We watched It's a Christmas Story, or A Christmas Story. The only things we didn't watch is Frosty, which I think we're going to knock out tonight because it's still Christmas up until the ball drops tonight. And then we didn't watch It's a Wonderful Life yet, which I really love that movie too, because I relate to George Bailey somewhat. And yeah, that checks off all of our stuff. So we've been doing all that, and it's been a great week overall, even with like the little health setback with Roxy Bear. I'm feeling confident in how things are going. In bad news though, I talked a lot of this week about having fun and obviously it was Christmas season, lots of eating. Cody made an incredible number of amazing cookies, including her world famous chocolate chip cookies, and I went a little crazy this past week. In fact, I tracked my weight, and in this break that we've been in for the last 10 days, I'm up 5.4 pounds. So going into next year, I have some work to do, obviously. In fact, I have more work to do than what I originally had because things got crazy here. But that's okay. It's a new year, time to like get on track, right? Like this was a party time. We go back to business. As tomorrow, well, not tomorrow because it's New Year's Day, and then we're having his birthday and stuff. But like January 3rd, things go back on track. And I get to work. And I'm going to have some plans for that. I think I'm going to talk about that somewhat in like next week's episode. I'd like to talk about some of my goals or hopes or wishes for 2024 that I'm going to have to think about for some time. I don't want it to, obviously I have some goals for the YouTubes and my job, I guess, but I'm going to have to figure out exactly how I want to do things. And I'd like to talk about that and some personal goals and things like that. I feel like that's always a great way to start the year, even though I haven't hit some of my goals for this year. But I find that sometimes the goals you set aren't necessarily the goals that you want to keep for an entire 12 months. It's good to have something that you can revisit. And that probably would be a good thing for me to do. Like every 90 days, put like an alert on my phone that says like, hey, revisit your goals. How are you doing with this? Is this still something that you want? Is there something else that you would rather do? And then keep that going. Because, yeah, I think that would be good. Why does my phone keep going off? Oh, it's the my motion. There's motion all over the house. Probably Mellow Cat running around the house. If you, speaking of that, we got Bud and Deb security cameras for Christmas. And I said, you know what you're going to see on your security camera? Same thing we see. People dropping off packages and the cat running around the house endlessly. That's pretty much all we ever see. So that was pretty much just this up until my birthday. Since then, been home editing videos, editing up all of the footage that I got because I recorded all that stuff. And then Clark and I have been building Lego sets, of course, and just kind of enjoying the time we have. And then yesterday we had to go get groceries and go to Target and all that funny business. So that was all done. And yeah, I'm just kind of doing that. I still have one more video to edit, which is like the day that we came home. And then I got some Lego footage of us building. So we're still stacking up footage, but I'm kind of caught up on things, and it's been really fun to share all this. And it seems like people really enjoy coming along with us on our Christmas journey, which has been cool to see. And a lot of positive comments came from that, which I appreciate. Speaking of positive comments, let's go into listener feedback for this week, starting with Janelle, and again, this is from long ago. She said, Clark's video was really entertaining. I love seeing things from a kid's perspective. The meshed video was really good too. Old school is the way to go with a homemade feel type to it. It reminds me of recording my daughter's childhood. See, I think there's something special about it. In a world where everyone's striving for the best quality and always being the same, the best thing you can do is do something different, something else. At least that's what I think. Like if everybody's running one direction, and this works in the stock market too, sometimes it's smart to go the other direction. And maybe that's a life lesson that I'm learning too. Thank you for the comment, Janelle. Next comes from Jim. He says, It's a Wonderful Life in black and white is my favorite. Watched it Christmas Eve building a Barbie dream house. Love it. Enjoy the holidays. You know what you should have watched? Slightly different movie. Ever so slightly different. You should have watched the Barbie movie while you built the Barbie dream house. That sounds like a fun experience though. Building the Barbie dream house, I'm assuming for your daughter. Maybe for you. I don't know what your collection is, Jim. I thought you were a Lego guy, maybe. But you never know. The Barbie dream house could be the thing. I sometimes think like what would happen if I had a daughter. And I think without a doubt, I would be 100% invested in whatever she was into. Just like I was a Clark man. Like he was into monster trucks for a period of time. There was Thomas. There was no bigger dad fan of those things than I was. And it gives me an excuse to get into it. So like, even though I never historically collected Barbie dolls or like what you'd consider girl toys, that wouldn't stop me from collecting them and enjoying them as an adult. If my daughter was into it, I'd be like, let's do this. We'd have the Barbie dream house. We'd have the car. We'd have the whole works, right? Maybe in a different life. As it stands right now, I'm pretty happy to have a son because I like his interests and mine are like completely meshed, and maybe that's a partially my doing, but man, it's been fun sharing that journey for sure with him, and I still got lots of years left, hopefully, as long as he doesn't grow up to be a teenager and then, everything changes. Hopefully not. I'm hoping to have this relationship forever, or as long as I can until he grows up. And then I guess it'll just be me and my pets. I'll probably add on some pets here as we go forward. And yeah, I just love, I won't say taking care of people, but I love having things in my life that bring me happiness, and oftentimes that is like people and pets. And I think like my write up for Greg's World, what Greg's World is, kind of sums it up. It's like documenting the people, places, pets, and places, pickles, places, and parks. No, documenting like the things in my life and creating a video time capsule, and not only being there in the moment, but able to go back at any time and relive what I hope are some of the best times in my life. Thank you for the comment, Jim. Hope you enjoyed the Barbie movie when you get a chance to see it. I do actually want to see that. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw the trailer for that, I was like, dude, this looks terrible. Then all the reviews came out. I'm like, maybe I need to give this a watch. I thought it was just like a cash grab. Let's not talk about the Barbie movie in the comments. I feel like there's always like that one thing that I mention in my podcast that everyone comments about. If it's the Barbie movie, it can be. Next one comes from Cyber Productions. He says, hey, another great podcast. I thoroughly enjoy these, as well as the live streams where there's conversation to be had. Whether it's live in real time or the course of the week where we hear back from you and our responses. I think that bloggy camera is neat. It's like going back in time to see what things looked like back then. Wild. I also see your dedication, and other YouTubers have inspired me to do things. More recently, throughout 2023, I uploaded more shorts to my channel and plan to continue in 2024. I have no idea if it'll lead to anything. I'm not getting thousands of views or anything and wouldn't expect it, but it is nice to get a short over 1,000 views. I've had many now get over that threshold, so that's what I'm judging my content off of, not others. That's a good plan. Have a happy new year. Enjoy family time that you have left. I'm looking forward to see what you get up to in 2024. We will watch your career with great interest, says Palpatine. I love it. Dude, I think that's fantastic because it's so easy to compare ourselves to others. And usually we compare ourselves to people that we look up to, right? Like in terms of wealth, you look at the person that has like a house in Malibu and all these fancy cars and pools. And then you look at your life and you're like, oh man, my life sucks. But then like, what if you, instead of that, you look at the fact that, hey, you have a house, you're eating food today, you're living indoors, and you have electricity, you have the internet. You're in a much better position than nearly every single person that ever lived on this planet throughout history. If you think of it like that, a little bit of a different perspective, So comparing yourself to yourself and how you were maybe in the past, probably the best thing you can do. What can I do to get a little better? Like I always say, time and pressure. You make your YouTube short, gets 1,000 views. You're like, okay, that's cool. Next one gets 1,002 views. You're like, okay, I'm doing something right. It just keeps going. That's pretty darn awesome, man. Best of luck to you in 2024. Weird to say that. I think we are officially in the 20s now. It's not 2024. It's 2024 now. Next one comes from Zero the Hero. He says, great time listening, sir. Hope your family has an amazing holiday season and stay safe. So far, so good. Watching Christmas Day. Can't believe I had it off work. It's been 20 years since I've had Christmas off. Guess that's what happens when you work in the healthcare industry. Listening and putting Commander Cody's head bust together thanks to kiddos. That's a Lego set for those of you that aren't into the Lego scene. If you're not, what can I do to bring you in? I worked with my nephews. I know as a kid we didn't celebrate Christmas due to horrible family stuff, but are we wrong trying to make sure our kids' lives are the best they can be? I know we push kindness and supporting present drives for those who can't afford. Yeah, I agree with you, and I try to give Clark the life that I would have loved to have as a kid. Occasionally, it does lead to some people that don't like that. Like, usually, it's younger kids they have jealousy in their hearts. And there was one comment that came through that was like that. Like, you guys are so spoiled. You guys are going shopping. You don't need to go shopping. And it's like, instead of hating on people, why can't you just be happy for somebody? Like, we've worked a long time to get to this place. I'm trying to give my family a nice life, and we're trying to enjoy this experience together. There's no reason to be negative. And that goes for any type of YouTube comment. If you don't like something, the best thing you can do is just stop watching it, unsubscribe, turn off notifications, go find something else. YouTube is such a big place. And unless it's like something, the only way that I think you should leave a negative comment on anything on YouTube, and this isn't just related to me, but anybody, and this is my philosophy, is if you can give some constructive feedback that will actually help this person either what they're doing or in the future. Like me, for example, I sometimes show myself cooking poorly, and sometimes people leave recommendations on like how I can do that better or ideas that they have, and it's like, well, that's great. That's not even negative in my opinion. But if you leave a comment like criticizing someone, like you suck at this or whatever, what does that accomplish? What does that do for that person other than make them feel bad? This is a person like Cyber, for example, that's putting themselves out there, maybe not super comfortable with like doing it, but they're like they're doing it. They're doing something more than that you'll ever do as just a commenter on a YouTube channel. So there's no reason to criticize someone for anything ever. There's enough negativity to go around, and the contrary, if you can leave something nice to say about that person, or if you can find the one positive thing, how much more powerful is that, right? For both of you. You're going to feel good and they're going to feel good. Bringing other people down with you when you're down is not a good plan. And I wish I could be the parent that some of these kids never had, but I can only give the life that I can to Clark, man, and I would love to do that for everyone. But it's just we're all in different circumstances. The best thing I can do is try to coach people through things wherever I can. So yeah, a long rant about such things. Anyways, he says, totally agree with you on elves and others being hurt or let down. I know as a kid we didn't celebrate Christmas due to, we got that. We got it. Okay, I covered it. All right. The elf gifts. Next one comes from Sam Bartz, who's been a big supporter this year. He says, greetings, Greg. It's absolutely nuts that there's a vlogger in your area and you two somehow never heard of each other. It is kind of wild, isn't it, how big of a space YouTube can be, or social media in general, that you could literally live just down the road from somebody that does the same exact thing that you do, that you're so similar and you just never met. But on the contrary, you can live across the world from people and connect with them in ways that you never connected with your next door neighbor. And you might know me better than you know your neighbors. Isn't that just a wild thing? So it's a vast area, but it's full of amazing connections that we can make. So I love the opportunities that not only YouTube, but just, I guess, social media can potentially have. I know there's a lot of negatives that also come with it, and maybe sometimes the negatives outweigh the positives. But I get so much value from sites like YouTube, and I know even people get value from, dare I say, TikTok. It all depends what the algorithm gives you, and I guess where you're at, and mentally, and what your interests are. You just never know what kind of idea something could spark, or some type of inspiration that could come from something, or the doom scrolling that could happen. It could go either way. Anyways, Sam says, Clark is becoming a fantastic vlogger. I'd watch out, Greg, because that guy might just be your new competition. I'm handing the keys over to him. I want to take a moment to extend my greatest gratitude to you for everything that you've done for me this year. Who knew that just one video about a very specific topic would lead me down an extraordinary path for hopefully years to come? He found us through Cody's Toyota Tacoma video, which gets me thinking. I think in next week's episode, I'm going to talk about how I need to probably make more videos that are searchable, because maybe the idea is someone searches for something and they find it, just like Sam did here. Sam would have never found like Christmas with my family, probably never would have found that, right? But then he finds getting our new Toyota, and it's like, okay, that's relevant to my interests. Let me click on that. It's like, oh, I like this. These people seem like they're okay-ish. Let me see what else they do. And then maybe you find something you really like. But I'm going to try to make my videos in a way that not only can be enjoyable for our long-term fans, but maybe somebody that just comes across it and they're like, oh, wow, that guy is so annoying. I'm never watching this again. He says, that feeling of community I have when I'm here watching Greg's World is indescribable. Thank you for everything you have shaped for me and everyone else here. I can't wait to see what 2024 brings, because 2023 has been one for the books. Wishing you and your family a wonderful Merry Christmas, from Sam. Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I honestly have more online friends than I have in real life. I've never met some of you guys, or many, or any of you, but it is nice hearing from people every week on the podcast. Like, it feels like we have a community here, at least in my mind it does. And it's something I'm really thankful for. Again, Thanksgiving can be Christmas too. Next one comes from DB Bricks. He says, really been enjoying the variety in the videos this week. Loved yours and Clark's side-by-side weekend vlogs especially. That came out really well. With the video where you were driving home past all the houses with the Christmas lights, Winter Guys Night, you could really tell that Clark was showing great care and interest now with his camera work that he's filmed, rather than just running around with the camera and pointing at stuff for the sake of it. Like father, like son, as they say. Just don't hand over the baton yet. You can enjoy early retirement that easily. Hope you and the family have a wonderful Christmas period. And by the time this goes out next Sunday, a very happy new year. Exactly. That's exactly where we're at. And that's what I want to say to you that are listening or watching this. I hope that 2023 was a good one for you. And I hope that in some way through listening to this podcast, all 50 plus episodes that I probably made this year, hopefully that you got some type of value out of this, even more, or even if it is just listening to me talk about my week. I appreciate you tuning in. This is something that I thoroughly enjoy doing, and I'm hoping to do a whole lot more of in this next year with hopefully good news to share with you, and just sharing all the things that I'm up to and into, just like we always say. So on that, I hope you have a glorious new year. Hope that we can all lose some weight together in January. And as always, I'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.